So good morning, everyone. So welcome to the Majors Fair 2021 for the Econometrics and Business Statistics, EBS, and also Business Analytics, BA. So I'm Anjuvan. With me today is Dr. Prabha and Miss Elsa, who will be helping to answer some of the questions that you all have. So let me go through the slides first. And for any questions that you have, please put it in the chat box. If it will be good if you can just send it to everyone instead of just me. Okay. So let me get started with the next slide. All right. So there are two major offerings that the department offers. The first one is the Econometrics and Business Statistics, or better known as EBS. And the second one is known as Business Analytics, or BA. Okay. So one thing to note is students, okay, you can only major in either EBS or Business Analytics. Okay, you can't major in both of them. So you'll need to make a choice whether you're going to go for EBS or you're going to go for BA. Okay, so you can major in one, and what you can do is you can take a minor in the other. That's the option. So not majoring in both, major in one, minor in the other. Now let's look at what is econometrics, what is analytics, and what statistics. So let me start with statistics first. So statistics is basically the way that we collect and we analyze numbers, okay, in a representative sample. And basically we want to look as the population as a whole. That's typical statistics, and statistics has been there since a very long time. If you can see, the use over time for statistics, it started from maybe 1800s all the way till today. But as you can see, the trend probably slightly is on the decline, but still there's a lot of use of statistics. We then look at econometrics. So econometrics is basically use of mathematical methods in describing economic systems. And you can see that the use peaked from the 1950s, okay, till now. And the last one is business analytics. So business analytics is basically a computational analysis and used for evidence-based decisions. So if you can look at econometrics and business analytics, in econometrics, you use more mathematical methods. In business analytics, you use more computational analysis. Okay. And the tools that you'll be using, I'll be explaining later on, okay, in one of my last slides. Okay. So the question that students always have is why EBS or BA? Either one. Okay. If you look at the Economist magazine, this was a couple of years back, I think it was 4 years back. They said that the world's most valuable resource is no longer oil, okay, at the time, but it's actually data. So data is actually probably one of the most valuable resource that anyone or any company can have. And while you just sit on that data, basically, if you just sit on an oil field and not do anything with it, you don't create any value. So again, companies like what is shown here, Google, Amazon, Facebook, and many other companies, they basically take the data and they monetize it. And that's what you should be doing. Basically learn whether it's EBS or whether it's BA, and basically tomorrow when you go to job, when you go to work, is to apply whatever you have learned during your few years here at Monash. Okay, so I'll be showing you a short clip on EBS. For BA, you can also apply something similar. Okay, so let me share this video with you, just a couple of minutes. Can you all see this?
About 10 years ago, I took on the task to teach global development to Swedish undergraduate students.
No sound.
That was after having spent about 20 years together with
no sound?
Yeah.
Okay, let me...
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Huh? It's fine?
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
hear
it's
it.
fine. I can hear.
Oh, okay. Okay, never mind. Anyway, I will. Okay, so I will share it back.
African Institute.
Can hear, right?
Okay.
All right,
No.
all right. Okay.
About 10 years ago, I took on the task to teach global development to Swedish undergraduate students. That was after having spent about 20 years together with African institutions studying hunger in Africa. So I was sort of expected to know a little about the world. And I started in our medical university, Karolinska Institute, an undergraduate course called Global Health. But when you get that opportunity, you get a little nervous. I thought these students coming to us actually have the highest grade you can get in Swedish college system. So I thought maybe they know everything I'm going to teach them about. So I did a pre-test when they came. And one of the questions from which I learned a lot was this one: which country has the highest child mortality of these 5 pairs? And I put them together so that in each pair of country, one has twice the child mortality of the other. And this means that it's much bigger the difference than the uncertainty of the data. I won't put you at a test here, but it's Turkey, which is highest there, Poland, Russia, Pakistan, and South Africa. And these were the results of the Swedish students. I did it, so I got a confidence interval, which was pretty narrow, and I got happy, of course. I had 1.8 right answer out of 5 possible. And that means that there was a place for a professor of international health and for my course. But one late night, when I was compiling the report, I really realized my discovery. I have shown that Swedish top students know statistically significantly less about the world than the chimpanzees. Because the chimpanzee would score half right. If I gave them 2 bananas with Sri Lanka and Turkey, they would be right half of the cases. But the students are not there. The problem for me was not ignorance, it was preconceived ideas. I did also an unethical study of the professors of the Karolinska Institute that hands out the Nobel Prize in medicine, and they are on par with the chimpanzee there. So this is where I realized that there was really a need to communicate, because the data of what's happening in the world and the child health of every country is very well aware. So we did this software which displays it like this. Every bubble here is a country. This country over here is, this is China, and this is India. The size of the bubble is the population, and on this axis here, I put fertility rate. Because my students, what they said when they looked upon the world, and I asked them, what do you really think about the world? Huh? Well, I first discovered that their textbook was Tintin mainly. And they said the world is still we and them. And we is Western world, and them is third world. And what do you mean with Western world? I said, well, that's long life in small family, and third world is short life in large family. So this is what I could display here. I put fertility rate here, number of children per woman, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to about 8 children per woman. We have very good data since 1962, 1960 about, on the size of families in all countries. The error margin is narrow. Here I put life expectancy at birth, from 30 years in some countries up to about 70 years. And 1962, there was really a group of countries here that was industrialized countries, and they had small families and long lives. And these were the developing countries. They had large families and they had relatively short lives. Now, what has happened since 1962? We want to see the change. Are the students right? It's still 2 types of countries? Or have these developing countries got smaller families and they live here? Or have they got longer lives and live up there? Let's see. We start the world. And this is all UN statistic that has been available. Here we go. Can you see there? It's China. They're moving against better health. They're improving there. All the green Latin American countries, they are moving towards smaller families. The yellow ones here are the Arabic countries, and they get larger families, but longer lives, but not larger families. The Africans are the green down here, they still remain here. This is India. Indonesia is moving on pretty fast. And in the 80s here, you have Bangladesh still among the African countries there, but now Bangladesh, it's a miracle that happens in the 80s. The imams start to promote family planning, and they move up into that corner. And in 90s, we have the terrible HIV epidemic that takes down the life expectancy of the African countries, and all the rest of the world moves up into the corner where we have long lives and small family, and we have a completely new world.
All right, let me share my PowerPoint back. So I hope that you all had a good watch of the video. So it basically shows you what statistics can do. Okay? And basically, whether you take econometrics or you take business analytics, so both of them you'll be doing something like what you saw on the screen. I mean, you will be touching on different kinds of application. You'll be using different types of software, and you'll be working on data. Okay? So like I said, data is the new oil, and that's something that you will be working on. Okay, so now here we look at why do you take EBS or BA. So we always start with what we have in hand, which is data. So data is something that is being generated while I speak. Okay, so every single second, thousands and thousands of data is being generated. Every single sensor that you have is generating data. So if you work in a factory environment, every single machine produces so much of data. Okay, a lot of things that you do, even your smartphone, your smartwatch, okay, say your heart rate monitor, all of these devices are actually generating data. So having all of this data sitting with you and not doing anything with it, is it meaningful? It is not. So that's where you need to actually take this data and go to the next step, which is to process the data. Okay. After you process the data, that's when you come into the picture of the human based on your past experience for this type of data. What do you do with it? That's where the knowledge, your actions come into place, and you make the decision. Okay, based on, say you collected 1 million data samples. Okay, you have processed these 1 million data samples, and what is the decision that you're going to get out of it? Okay, say that you are in a sales and marketing company. Okay, based on all of this data that you got, what decision are you going to make? Are you going to change the techniques that you market? Are you going to sell different products, or should you continue with the same products? Okay? So these are the kind of things that you do with the data that you collect. Okay, so for data analytics, this is basically an overview. So you typically do what? The data that you have, you first import it. Okay? And then once you import the data, so real world data is typically not clean. So when I mean not clean is there could be missing values, there could be additional columns or data that is captured that you don't need to use. That's when you actually tidy. Tidy is another way of cleaning your data. And then you go through a 3-step process where you transform, you visualize, and you model your data. And finally, once you have all the results, what do you need to do? You need to communicate with your stakeholders. Basically, if you're working as a, say that you're working as a data analyst, what do you need to do? You need to communicate, say, with your manager or with your director, right? So they basically want to see, out of the 1 million data samples that I just gave you an example, right? What is the outcome, right? What should you do next? So that's what you are going to be doing in data analytics. Okay, now a very common question of what is actually the difference between EBS, okay, econometrics, and business analytics. So we'll first look at econometrics. Econometrics typically looks at socio-economic problems, and you basically look at descriptive statistics. However, in business analytics, okay, we typically do visualization, predictive analytics, and we apply more on business problems. Okay, that's the main difference. I know some of you may say there are some areas which can cut across both. Yes, it can cut across both. However, just think of socio-economic problems typically for econometrics and business problems typically for business analytics. So we look at these two here. So econometrics and statistics is typically concerned with hypothesis testing, okay? Whether really there's a relationship between the variables, whether it's positive or negative, and whether it is a prediction or not. That's more on econometrics and statistics. For business analytics, you look a lot on data exploration. Basically, what kind of relationship you have in your data. Data visualization is where you actually plot the charts, okay, tables and stuff from your data. And finally, you do a prediction using simple machine learning techniques. Okay? So that's another way of describing econometrics and business analytics. Now we look at the research question. So in EBS, you typically have a specific research question, such as, does ethnicity have a significant role in determining who was approved for a housing mortgage? Okay? So the question, see clearly, ethnicity have a significant role. However, for business analytics, you look at a broader research question where what is the most important predictor in determining who was approved for a housing mortgage? So you can see the two questions, although they are pretty similar. The first one for EBS, we look at ethnicity, which has a significant role. The second one, for business analytics, again, we just see what is the most important predictor. So it's much more general. And this is probably, I get from a lot of students who come to my class, especially, do I need to be good in math? Not exactly, but it would definitely be useful. Okay, you definitely need to have some basics in maths, okay, because you will be doing some problem solving using simple maths. I'm not saying that you need to know such advanced maths, okay, but at least you need to know some simple maths in order to solve some of the problems. Okay, and this is the last part on what software will you learn. Okay, so for you will be learning at most is using R. So R is basically a free software that you use for programming. Okay, and I typically get every semester students asking, so since I'm using R, why don't you all use Python? Okay, so starting from next semester onwards, for only business analytics students, I will be introducing basic Python in the class that I teach, which is ETW 2500 Statistical Learning. And all students, okay, you are given access to DataCamp. Please speak to your respective lecturers, okay, for access. And during your semester break, I would highly encourage you, make full use of your semester break to learn Python. Okay? We can only teach you whatever we can in class, but for your extra knowledge, I would highly encourage you, go and learn more, okay, especially on Python, if you wish to do so on DataCamp. And DataCamp access is free. Okay, it's typically given at the start of the semester by some of the lecturers who use DataCamp in their classes, and it's valid for 6 months. And then you have eViews. So eViews is used mainly for time series econometrics analysis. So this is more for EBS. Then you have Stata. So Stata is a statistical software for data manipulation visualization. And again, it's similar to Tableau. So Tableau is something that a lot of companies out there use in order to create visualization. So you can create visuals using R, using Python, or using Tableau as well. Okay, it's just that the manner that you create visuals are different. And what we want to do is we want to prepare you for the real world, where some companies may be using R, some may be using Python, some may be using Tableau. So at least you know how to use each of these tools. Okay. And the last slide before I end is basically data scientist is the sexiest job of the 21st century. So I will stop sharing right now and I will open it for questions, which you can post it in the chat box. So I will either take the question or Prabha or Elsa. Okay, the first one, where do I buy textbooks for the course? Is it from the university? Okay, so as far as I know, all the subjects, we are supposed to use open access materials. So the links for the particular reference books, I wouldn't say it's a textbook. The link for this particular reference book would be posted on Moodle, okay, on the particular subject that you are taking. Okay. And will we be teaching Python for Econometrics Major 2? Not currently yet. So we are starting off with the business analytics next semester to see how it goes. Okay. What units are offered in BA Econometrics? I think there is a link somewhere. I'm not sure, Prabha or Elsa, do you have that particular link? I think it's probably in the handbook for business analytics and for EBS. Okay, may I know how important is coding? If I'm not good, will I suffer? Okay, so do not worry about coding because what we teach you is actually from scratch. So the courses are designed so that you start zero from coding, and we take you through step by step. So when you start in probably your second semester, okay, you will be taking the basics and then you will go to intermediate in the following semester. Okay, again, there's another question on what programs will be taught in either major. So you need to find the links. Yeah.
Manju, I can add on. What
Sure,
programs
sure.
will be taught? When you say program, are you referring to a statistical package? If you're talking about statistical package, then of course, for econometrics and business statistics, we begin with Excel. In fact, in any course, we always start with Excel first. Then we have EViews for econometrics students. I think we start in second year, and then Stata in the final years. Because Stata is a more powerful software for econometrics model building. Yeah? So statistical packages don't have to worry first, because in the first year, mostly everything will be Excel. I think even for business analytics, they begin in Excel first, and then you start with the other, like Tableau and all the other things. Okay. Job opportunities. First, you have to decide which would you prefer, EBS or EBS or business analytics, because sometimes I always ask people, how do you see things? Do you see things better by looking at a model? Some people, when they see a model, when they see equations, they're able to understand and explain better. Others, they need to seeing is believing, and they need to visualize. Only then they're able to see the relationships. So what kind of person are you? Are you a person who likes to understand things using equations and model building, or do you like to actually look at the visuals and do some computations from the visuals, like what Manjiman was saying earlier? So that can also, you can also decide on which area you want to go based on your own strengths and weaknesses. Yeah? Just now, somebody asked about textbooks. The university is actually moving away from textbooks, because lots of information is coming not only from textbooks. Textbooks are getting outdated very quickly. So over the years, you'll notice that more and more are open source, and the information which you need regarding the course will be given in the unit outline itself. Okay?
All right. So back to the question on what are the subjects for business analytics and EBS. I've already posted the links for the year 2022 on the chat box, so you can take a look for business analytics and EBS. And someone even asked for ETW 2500, so I've posted the link there as well. And again, a question on maths. So how important is may I also know what topic of maths is important? So as long as you know basic maths, typically, not to say very advanced maths, that should be sufficient for most of your subjects. Okay, whatever you study in your high school, okay, it should be sufficient in order for you to start. Okay, you don't need to know too advanced. And then on internship, okay, so typically whenever there are opportunities from say banks or from which other companies, the external engagement office will blast out an email to all students notifying you of internship positions. And I would say you should always go and look at job sites or even LinkedIn. There are a lot of companies who actually post up internship internship opportunities, okay, on LinkedIn, and you can apply. Please don't wait for please don't wait for things to come to you. Go and take some effort to go and find opportunities as well. All right, so if is there any other, okay, can I transition from business analytics to data analytics in future as a career? Yeah, definitely. So as long as you do something in analytics, you start in your first job, and then you may find that, okay, I want to do something different. So you should build up. So the most important thing is having the foundation in analytics during your few years here at Monash. And once you go out there, you may actually change to a different job type, but basing on analytics. So do not worry too much that you need to know everything. So as long as you know the basics, you know how to use standard programming languages, standard visualization tools, that should give you the foundation. Okay, on the various job opportunities, I think I did explain in the slides. So on the job opportunities, it all depends. So you can be working for a bank, you can be working for a private company, you can be working for a fintech company. It all depends how you want to utilize your skills. Okay, do not focus that you do business analytics, you can only go for a data analytics or data analyst position. No, there are many jobs out there which may use data, okay, or which may use statistics that you can go and apply for. So don't focus, don't have a narrow mind to say that, okay, I'm doing this particular course, I can only go for this particular job. No, don't be picky in the jobs. As long as you can apply whatever you learn in maybe the job that you're applying, go for it. Okay, I do hope that I answered most of the questions. Okay, I may have missed some of it. Okay, probably I'll take the last one. Would having a double major in both BA and EBS, so you actually can't do major in both BA and EBS. You can only do major in one and minor in another one. So I think that's all. Looking at time, it's already 12:15. So I thank you all for your half an hour that you spent here. And if you do have any questions, okay, you can always reach out to me or Prabha or to Elsa. Okay, our contacts you can find on the School of Business website. Okay, all right.